Dear students, in this class, we continue our discussion of threats, commitments, and credibility. We start with what is known as empty threats. Empty threats. Suppose that firm A produces personal computers and can be used as word processors and other uses. Word processors and other uses. B produces computers which are dedicated word processors. The computer produced by A can be used as word processors and also other uses. That of B as dedicated word processors only. Let us see the payoffs. B, A, high price, low price, high price, low price, 100, 80, 80, 100, 20, 0, 10, 20. Now, as long as A charges high price for its computers, both make a lot of money. Whether B charges high price or low price, as long as A charges high price, both make large profits, 180 or 80 and 100. This is because even if B charges only a low price, many consumers will purchase from A, as A's computers are used as word processors and also for other uses, whereas B's only for word processing. Now, suppose that A charges a low price. If A charges a low price, if B charges a low price, it will get only 0 payoff. So if A charges a low price, B must also charge a low price. Otherwise it will get only 0 profits. Also, as you can see, if A charges a low price, both will get low profits, low payoffs, 10 and 20, instead of 180 or 80 and 100. Now, A prefers outcome in the upper left hand corner. B, so this is the preferred outcome for E. But as you can see, now let me explain this game in the context of the Nash Equilibrium. If B charges high price, for A high price, low price, again high price. High price is a dominant strategy for E. What about B? High price, low price, low price, again low price. So B has a dominant strategy. A also has a dominant strategy. So the Nash equilibrium is A high price, B low price, because both entries receive underlying in this cell only. So B has a dominant strategy. So the outcome is the upper right hand corner with A charging high price and B charging low price. Now, in this case, A would probably be viewed as the dominant firm in the industry, as its pricing decision has greater impact, because if it charges high price, both will earn substantial profit. If it charges only low price, both will earn lower profits. So we will have a feeling that A is the dominant firm. Now the question is, can A induce B to charge a high price? Can A induce B to charge a high price by threatening it to charge a low price? Can A induce B to charge a high price by threatening it, stating that it will charge a low price? The reason is, it is not possible for A to threaten B, because whatever B does, A much worse off if it charge a low price. Suppose that A charges a low price, B high price, A will get only profit equal to 20. If A charge a low price and B also low price, its profit is 10 only. It is much lower than 80. So this is an example of empty threat, because the threat is not credible. The threat is not credible. It's an example of an empty threat, means a threat without any credibility. Now sometimes firms can make the threats credible. Firms can make the threat credible. To see this, let us consider another example. Another example. Suppose that race car is a company producing cars, and far out is a company producing engines. Far car produces cars, far out produces engines. The engines produced by far outs, most of the engines are sold to the race car, the car industry, and few engines will be sold outside, that is other producers of cars. Still, it depends, that is far out depends heavily on race cars, and its production decision depends on the production decision of race car. So we have a sequential game in which the race car is the leader, far out is the follower. Far out is the follower. That is, far out decides what type of engines to be produced after observing the decision of race cars to produce cars. And let us see the payoffs. Race car can produce two types of cars, small cars and big cars, and far out can produce small engines and big engines. And let us see what are the payoffs. 3, 6, 3, 0, 1, 1, 8, 3. 8, 3. What is the Nash equilibrium here? If far out think that race car will produce small cars, small engines 3, otherwise 1, 8, then 6 and 3, 1, 6, 0, 1, 3. It is like that. If it is a simultaneous move game, the two Nash equilibria are small engine, small cars, big engines, big cars, in the context of a simultaneous move game. Now, race cars do best by producing small cars. Small cars will give 6 and 1, big only 0 and 3. So, race cars do best by deciding to produce small cars. It knows that in response to its decisions, far out will produce small engines. Race cars produce small cars. In response, far out will produce small engine. In the case of a sequential game, this will be the outcome. If it is a simultaneous move game, 3, 6 or 8, 3, we cannot say which outcome will be reached. In the sequential move game, race car produces small cars. In response, far out small engines. But as far as far out is concerned, its preferred outcome is this big engines. If a far out produces big engines, its payoff is 8. So if it could produce big engines and race cars produce big cars, the outcome is 8, 3. If it produces big engines and it can persuade the race cars to produce big engines, it could make 8 as the payoff, and the race cars 3 the payoff instead of 6. The question is, can the far out engine maker induce the race car to produce big cars? That is the question, instead of the small ones. Now suppose that far out threatens to produce big engines. No matter what race cars does, they threaten to produce big engines, no matter race cars does. Suppose that there is no other company to satisfy the needs of race cars. If the race cars believe the threat, it will produce big cars. Far out threaten to produce big engine, and if there are no other suppliers of engines, then race car will also produce big cars. But in this case, the threat is not credible. The threat is empty threat. So the question is how to make this threat credible. The threat can be made credible by visibly and irreversibly reducing some of its own payoff by the far out, the engine maker, by constraining its own choice. That is by reducing the payoff from, that is the far out, the engine maker can constrain itself by reducing its payoff from small engines, maybe by shutting down or destroying some of its production facility for small cars. And suppose that as a result, the new payoff metrics associated with the new outcome is 0, 6, 0, 0, 1, 1, 8. These captions are same. That is fame, that is far out, engine maker, destroy the production facility for producing small engines, so that if it produces small engines, its payoff is 0. Payoff is 0. And if it produces small engines and the race car produces, what to say, big cars, race cars payoff is 0. Now in this case, if the race car produces small cars, its payoff is 1. Its payoff from selling it is 1. That is by somewhere its profit is. Now if so in this case, if in the case of far out, if it produces, it is not producing any small engines because the production facility has been destroyed. So its payoff is 0. And race cars, small engines, small cars, its payoff is 6. Because if it produces small cars and far out produces big engines, its payoff is only 1. It may have to look somewhere to get engines for its outputs. So if race cars produce small cars, far out sells big engines to other producers. And this far out is not producing small engines, far out is producing big engines, but its payoff is 1 by selling its big engines to some others. And the race cars earn a profit of 1 by getting what to say, small engines from somewhere. So its profit is 1. So big, that is small cars produced by the race car, big engines produced by far out. So it is 1, 1. Big engines, profit is 1 by selling its big engines to somewhere. Profit of race car 1 by obtaining small engines from somewhere. So now it is clearly in the interest of the race cars to produce big cars. Then far out big engines, its payoff is 8, and its payoff is 3, that of far out is 8. So in this case, the threat is credible. The threat is credible because far out is committed to produce big engines. As far out is committed to produce big engines, by destroying its production facilities for small cars, the threat becomes credible. So, commitment and credibility results in threats which are credible, not empty threats. And in this context, another concept is the role of reputations. Reputation also plays a very important role, strategic advantage. That is a point which is known to you, so I am not explaining this in detail. So, threats, commitments, credibility, and the role of reputations. And in this context, we can say that the far out has a reputation of behaving irrationally by destroying small engine facility, then the threat is again credible. So there is a saying that a party that is known to be little crazy can have significant advantage. That is, if the car maker is a little crazy, then he will gain advantage. And this is true in most cases involving strategic interactions. Strategic interactions. And that is all about threats, commitments, and credibility.